Welcome to the Holistic Dentistry Podcast, the show that gives you the tips and tools to detoxify your mouth for a healthier body.
On ozone therapy at home for oral health. I get a lot of questions about what should I buy, what kind of ozone I should use, what kind of ozone generator for home use. Honestly, there's so many different ones on the market and not all of them are regulated. The important thing about buying an ozone generator is that the parts inside need to be classified for ozone use. And if you actually call a reputable company like Longevity, for example, or this one that we have here in the office is Promo Life, they actually will tell you what the difference is and go into more detail. But today I really want to focus in on easy therapies at home when it comes to ozone. And you don't have to buy an ozone generator. And I know recently there was a model on Instagram who actually showed that she was ozonating her smoothies. So she actually took an ozone generator and put it in her smoothie to ozonate it. What does that actually do when you bubble ozone in your smoothies? It probably actually kills the beneficial bacteria that are present on your fruits and vegetables. And we do need beneficial bacteria as well. Is it actually putting oxygen in there? Hard to tell. There's really been no research on oxygenating or ozonating your smoothies for that matter. Drinking ozonated water on its own can be beneficial for the stomach. But for the mouth itself, definitely ozone water is one of the modalities that we can use to help treat cavities and to help with bleeding gum. The easiest way I found to get ozonated water at home is using a tumbler. This tumbler is actually from BioSure, and you basically use just tap water. And if you look inside here, I actually put some tap water. You press a button here in the front, and what this actually will do is start turning blue. And you will see actually little bubbles coming from the bottom into this chamber. In about 2 minutes, we will actually have ozonated water. The important thing is you don't want to use distilled water because distilled water is devoid of minerals. And in order to create ozone, we actually need the mineralization. You can use definitely filtered water. You can use spring water. No reverse osmosis water, again, because that's devoid of minerals. And then in 2 minutes, you have ozonated water that you can swish with. And this particular tumbler makes 3 parts per million water. When you actually open up the cap, you can actually smell the ozone. Just don't take a big whiff. Yes, it's definitely ozonating the water and it hasn't even been 2 minutes. You can actually take it and fill the reservoir of your water flosser. The importance of this is that the water flosser actually can drive the ozone water up to 6 millimeters under the gum, especially for those of you that are suffering from gum disease, inflammation, or maybe you have crowns that are just holding inflammation in, around the gums. I highly recommend that you try ozonated water inside your water flosser to really help to detoxify and heal those areas. Another way to use water flosser or water with ozone for your oral health is to gargle. Let's say you have a sore throat or, you look at your tongue and it's coated white. That means there's a dysbiosis inside the mouth. So the white coating might mean that you have a fungal overgrowth. And in that case, ozone water works great for that. So you can actually use the attachment of the tongue scraper on your water flosser, fill it up with ozone water and actually clean your tongue. You can also use it as a rinse, but the problem with the rinse and ozone water is that it doesn't really penetrate deep inside the gums. It really only stays at the surface. Same with the tongue. The tongue has those little papilla on the tongue and you have these little grooves. Swishing with ozone water can be helpful, but actually scraping it with ozone water is even more helpful, that it allows the water to penetrate deeper. Can you drink ozone water? Yes, you can. It actually helps to detoxify the esophagus. I don't recommend that you drink a lot of water all at once. It can be too detoxifying, but it's really helpful to clean the GI tract. So I recommend like maybe 6 to 8 ounces of ozonated water on a daily basis. Anywhere, I would say from 3 to 10 parts per million. The more concentrated the ozone water, the less you have to drink. In the dental office, we actually can generate 10 parts per million ozonated water. The units for home use are around maybe 1 to 3 parts per million. Some companies will actually put it on the labels, but some won't. So try to get one that's around 3 parts per million for home use. Now, the other important thing is, once you're done with the ozonated water, definitely dump the water. Don't leave it inside the container. And same with the water flosser. The thing with ozone water is that after the first hour, the ozone starts to degrade. Ozone is O3 instead of O2, so that extra atom actually comes off the molecule and it becomes O2 in the water. So within 24 hours, if you actually left it in here and smelled it, you would just have pure water. If you refrigerate it, you can actually get more of a longer shelf life of the ozonated water. But this is a reason why you're not finding ozonated water in the stores, because it cannot be bottled. Shortly after bottling, it will become purified water. That's why it's important to have an ozone water generator at home. I think it's even more important than actually getting a gas generator. Another way to use ozone at home, especially if you're looking for a more cost-effective way, and these tumblers can cost anywhere from $400 to $1,000 to make ozone water at home. But you say, oh, I don't want to spend that kind of money. We have ozone oil. And this happens to be a unscented olive oil. And basically, it's a natural olive oil in which the ozone actually gets bubbled into the oil over a period of a few days. And if you actually smell this, it strongly smells like ozone. The nice thing about ozonated oil, it can sit on your shelf for years. I mean, I think my oldest bottle of ozone oil has been sitting on my shelf for about 6 years and is still the same. It hasn't gone rancid or bad. If it's starting to turn more of a yellow color, which I have seen sometimes, especially when they're exposed to heat, then I would recommend just throw it out. But this is kind of what you want to see inside, a clear white, and you can actually smell the ozone. If you buy ozone oil and you smell it and it barely smells like ozone, it's not ozonated enough. So in order to have a therapeutic effect, you really want to have a potent ozonated olive oil. I recommend that you use this, and ozonated oil can be used on other parts of the body, but for oral health, let's say you have a breakout on your lip, you have a herpetic breakout, you can actually take a Q-tip, and a little bit goes a long way. So this is all you really need, a thin film. And the minute ozone gets in touch with the body, it melts. So let's say you have a irritation on your gum. You can actually take with a Q-tip and just rub it into the gum. And what I recommend is that you rub it back and forth. And as you rub it back and forth, what happens is the ozone oil gets liquefied and it starts to flow inside the gum pocket. But let's say you have a cavity. Can this work for cavity? Absolutely, it can. So again, a little bit goes a long way. You take a little Q-tip and let's say you have a cavity right on the surface. What you want to do is actually rub it in. Rub it in. Basically, after you brush and floss, you want to rub it in the area. And what we'll do, it'll actually basically decrease the level of bacteria that's actually stuck inside the cavity or inside the gum. Can you actually use it for your tonsils? Yes. And sometimes when I have a sore throat, I actually take a Q-tip with a little bit of ozonated oil. Be careful not to put too much so it doesn't cause gagging. And you can basically rub it or put it right in front of the tonsil, and you swallow, and that'll create actually an effect of, having the ozone oil on your tonsils to really go into every little groove to disinfect. This is definitely the most economical way to use ozone oil for oral health. Anything from cuts on the gum, let's say you're getting, an infection from those tongue rings, which I have seen, ozone oil works great for that. For those of you that are using braces and you're getting gum irritation, ozone oil works great. But do not brush with ozonated oil. Why? Because it's too strong. This is actually medicine. That's what I call it. So it's used for inflammation. But if you constantly brush with ozonated oil, you will be killing all the beneficial bacteria that's in your mouth. And what can happen? You can actually create an inflammatory problem. We cannot live without beneficial bacteria in the mouth. So you can actually see irritation caused by a lack of bacteria. And you might say, oh, ozone oil didn't work for me. It actually created more irritation. Well, I think you overused it in that case. So always, I recommend when you're actually going to be using ozonated oil, always balance that with a chewable probiotic or with eating fermented foods, because we want to make sure our natural microbiome does come back and eventually populate the site. With that, I hope I gave you some great tips. So as a last quick tip, you have a gum irritation, choose an ozonated olive oil. It's a great natural therapeutic benefit for oral inflammation.
Please make sure you check out the show notes for any links mentioned in the show. Do you have a question you'd like me to answer? Message me on Instagram at Dr. Sanda. This is Dr. Sanda, and remember, your mouth is the gateway to your health, so take care of it in the most natural and best way possible.